It's a medium, not a genre. It's not part-time, it's a lifetime. 'Cause if you're brilliant, you can feel it. The assurance, the freedom from torment. Hey guys, Baron is back, and I think a decent majority of people has gotta admit that Deltarune is pretty cool. From the characters to the world to the special lore. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff to really appreciate about it. And one of the other really big things about it is the music. As the composed music by the one and only Toby Fox is basically iconic now, and I gotta say it's a really big highlight. So much so that I think a video related to it would kind of feel important. I mean, not just a ranking of favorite songs or anything, tons of people have done that already, but what if there was a musical, maybe an animated musical on Deltarune, and what if the main characters got these special singers to play them, at least for the singing part, and give them these really cool musical number things. So this video is about me choosing who I think would be good singers to represent the Lighteners, the main fun game members. So some rules here are that there are a dozen of characters you can classify as the fun game. So just keep things simple and keeping it to the main few. And I'm also excluding Chris since they aren't really much of a speaking type, so it's hard to really imagine how they'd sound. And that leaves us with Susie, Rose, Noelle, and Bradley. So with that being said, let's get things started. So starting off with Susie, I wanted to choose singers who were more underground, so the choices could be a little more interesting and less predictable. As much as I would love to fulfill the Adele Susie fantasy, I don't think I'll be doing that right now. So, considering how rash and action-oriented Susie's personality is, I feel like it's best to give her more rash, more angryish type voice that a singer could bear. So we have some options here. One of them is Shy Girl, as she happens to have a deeper, sort of rough voice. But I feel like there's other voices that could go deeper in that. Another choice I have was Big Frida, but hers might be a little too exaggerated. So, one I stuck with is Jane the Mover. I think that her voice is really fitting for the type of character Susie is. It can also sounding a little different than others. There's this sort of earthiness to Jane's voice that I feel would actually work a bit for Susie's character. I don't really see expressed much in other fan interpretations of her voice in general, let alone her singing voice, and I think that's just that's just what I'd like to see. I think that would be pretty great for Susie. It's fun to imagine her sing a song the type of music that Jane makes, and I mean, maybe less sturdy. Maybe that's not exactly her style. Maybe it is, but the point is, I feel like Jane's singer voice would be very fitting for the one and only Susie Deltarune. So we're moving on to the next one. So now we have Rose. Luckily the game gives us some clear insight on what type of voice he has, and it's presented as very cutesy, very sweet, very easy to listen to, able to put opposers to bed if that's required. And luckily I have some options for that. One of them would be Toy Savant. One thing that appears is that maybe he's a little too mainstream for my interests. Like, there's definitely more mainstream artists, but he gets kind of close to there. So another option is Jordan Adetunji, the Kehlani guy. And I feel like there's something there, but I feel like I can go to something a little better than that. And I think I found a good choice with the star from Years and Years, Ollie Alexander. So, one thing which I think that they bring that others don't is that they seem to have like this like cool like little like something more to like the like cutesy, sweet, boyish voice, and I feel like that's one thing that Rosie's character needs, and I feel like this is what Ollie delivers on. And not to mention Ollie is also English, so that kind of helps fit the vibe, but at least how I view Rose. And so now we're on to Noelle, and with her, considering how much she is, like, personality-wise, pretty calm and assuming girl with, like, a little edge to her, especially if you take that one specific route, I feel like it would be best to choose a singer who would best work in that space, and there were a lot of choices with that. One was Pink Pantheress, as she has a like softer voice and stuff, but I feel like I could choose. She might be a little too mainstream, just a little bit, but also I feel like there's other choices that could work better. Another choice was Purity Rings, but I feel like that might sound a little too Swedish for her. So, in the end, the one I chose, the Star of Churches with a V, Lauren Mayberry, as I feel like she has a really good voice that really stands out amongst like the other artists I hear in similar lanes, and she can like fit into like the roles of softer and a little harsher, and that is the exact type of thing I was looking forward to for a Noelle voice. So we've had that one figured out. So last up is Budley. For him, since he plays the nerd route in the game, I think it's best if we choose someone who has a single voice that can kind of resemble the stereotype of a nerdy voice. So one which sounds a little exaggerated, a little scratchy, and while not fitting into like the realm of annoying, but also like kind of sounding like it could be that way to other characters. So we have a few options here. One choice is Vince Staples with his pretty expressive voice, but I feel like there's some which could like get a little more exaggerated than his. Another good choice was Amine, but I feel like there's one which can go a little more exaggerated than that, despite being really close. And the one I chose was Danny Brown. His very well-known and expressive voice sounds pretty perfect for like the singer voice that a Budley could possess. So that's gonna be the choice for the one and only. So that's all the singers that I chose to play these characters. If you think of any that seem like they fit these characters well, I'd like to see them in the comments if you feel comfortable with it. Also, if you want, you can subscribe and Check out the other cool videos I made because I made a lot in a very similar realm as this one. And with that being said, you'll be seeing this artist later. Dun 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 dun